generation Jesus pointed to in Matthew 24:34, the one that would see all these signs, began in 1948. That generation is now 78 years old. Scripture doesn't say eventually. It says this generation. This isn't a prediction video. Predictions are cheap, and they've done more damage to biblical credibility than almost anything else. What this is an evidence review, a serious, grounded look at what Jesus, Daniel, Paul, and John described, measured against what the documented historical and geopolitical record shows right now in 2026. By the end of this, the signs won't feel like theology. They'll feel like a pattern you can see with your own eyes. There's one part of this picture we won't cover today, the identity question, the who is the Antichrist question. That one deserves its own investigation. The mainstream Christian conversation about the end times has, for most of the last century, operated on a comfortable assumption. These things are future, distant, not yet. Theologians have debated timelines, pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, amillennial, preterist, with the shared underlying belief that the major prophetic thresholds haven't been crossed. That's a defensible position, and serious scholars hold it. The calendars don't agree, the interpretations diverge, and the church has been saying soon for 2,000 years without the clock running out. But the specific convergence we are watching in 2026, not one sign, not two, but the simultaneous, documented acceleration of nearly every marker Jesus named in a single discourse, doesn't fit comfortably inside, not yet. The pattern that the prophets described, nations destabilizing, alliances fracturing, natural disasters intensifying, moral frameworks collapsing, and a global system converging towards centralized control, is not being observed through a theological lens alone anymore. Political scientists, systems theorists, and secular historians are using the same language. Convergence, threshold, cascade. They're describing the same phenomenon from a different building. A sovereign God who wrote the ending into the beginning didn't do so arbitrarily. The question pressing against 2026 is not, could this be the generation? It's whether we've given ourselves permission to take our own scripture seriously enough to ask. Here is the specific anomaly. In Matthew 24, Jesus gave his disciples a cluster of signs, and he anchored them to a generation. The Greek word is genia, a generation, a people, a span. In Matthew 24:34, he said plainly, "This generation will not pass away until all these things take place." Most scholars date the Israel rebirth prophecy, Ezekiel 37's Valley of Dry Bones, to its fulfillment in May 14, 1948. If a biblical generation is 70 to 80 years, Psalm 90:10, the outer boundary of that generation lands between 2018 and 2028. We are inside that window right now. People who have actually read the primary text, not the commentary, not the study notes, but the text itself, know this timeline has been quietly sitting in plain sight for decades. The scholars who noticed this weren't fringe voices. Hal Lindsey put the calculation in print in the late Great Planet Earth in 1970. His math wasn't wrong. His date setting was. The failure wasn't the sign, it was the specificity. When 1988 passed without incident, it didn't disprove the framework. It discredited the overconfidence, and that discrediting became a cultural inoculation. Entire generations of believers were vaccinated against urgency by the embarrassment of failed prediction. The result, a church that has the prophetic record, reads it regularly, and has trained itself not to feel its weight. The signs didn't stop accumulating. The willingness to examine them did, which means the evidence that has continued building since 1988 has been largely processed in a room where nobody wanted to be the one to say it out loud. The evidence doesn't ask for speculation, it asks for documentation. First, wars and rumors of wars. The Uppsala Conflict Data Program, a peer-reviewed dataset maintained by Uppsala University, recorded 59 active armed conflicts globally in 2023, the highest number since the dataset began in 1946. That is a Tier 1 datable institutional record. Therefore, the sign Jesus named in Matthew 24:6-7 isn't metaphorical, it's measurable. Second, earthquakes in diverse places. The United States Geological Survey documented a 265% increase in significant seismic events, magnitude 6.0 plus, between the 1970s and the 2010s. The word Jesus used, seismos, is not restricted to geologic tremor. It encompasses social and political upheaval. Both are in the record. Third, the gospel preached to all nations. Wycliffe Bible Translators 2024 Annual Report documents that active Bible translation work is now underway in 97% of the world's languages, the highest percentage in recorded Christian history. Matthew 24:14 sets the completion of global gospel reach as the threshold before the end. That threshold is statistically within reach for the first time ever. Tell me in the comments, do you think the convergence of these signs is deliberate prophetic fulfillment or historical coincidence that we're pattern matching after the fact? I want to know which you believe and why, because whichever answer you hold, the next question is harder. What the evidence allows us to say carefully, honestly, is this: the specific convergence of datable signs within the specific generational window anchored to 1948 is not something the standard theological framework of not yet accounts for cleanly. The signs are not approaching, they are concurrent. That doesn't tell us the day or the hour. Jesus was explicit that no one holds that knowledge. But it does tell us that the sovereign creator who embedded the prophetic record into Scripture across a span of 1,500 years through dozens of writers in 3 languages on 3 continents, that God was not being decorative. Pattern implies a mind. Convergence implies a purpose. And purpose in the economy of a sovereign God implies that the question, are we ready, is not rhetorical. There's a particular weight that settles when you read Matthew 24, not as prophecy about strangers in a distant future, but as a description of the world you woke up in this morning. The wars, the fracturing, the gospel's reach, the generation count, these aren't symbols pointing somewhere else. If you have been sitting with Scripture for years and feeling like something is different now, that instinct has a name. And the sobering, quietly clarifying truth is this: the record was never hidden. The signs were always there. What changed is that we've run out of reasons to keep calling them early. The final question this evidence raises isn't about prophecy. It's about how a person lives differently once they can't unsee the pattern. If the generational window anchored to 1948 is the correct interpretive framework, and the documented evidence doesn't contradict it, then what does it mean that the global church's dominant posture is still not yet? If a sovereign God orchestrated the rebirth of Israel, the spread of the gospel to 97% of the world's languages, and the convergence of geopolitical instability, all within a single datable generation, what does he expect the generation that sees it to do with it? And if Matthew 24 is not a metaphor, not a symbol, and not a distant prediction, if what the text says is this generation, then what does that tell us about the question we haven't been willing to ask? Not, is it coming, but what are we still waiting for?